It's Gambling Harm Awareness Week, and the Problem Gambling Foundation says gambling's becoming more normalised for young people, and there's increasing concern worldwide about the crossover of gaming with gambling that has potential to put young people at risk of harmful gambling. Andre Frood is from the Problem Gambling Foundation, and Andre joins us for a corridor today. Thanks for your time, and a warm welcome to you, Andre. Kia ora.
Tēnā koe, Dale. How are you?
Kia ora. You've got an interesting name. Hey, I thought it might have been Andre, which often is a guy's name. Am I pronouncing it right?
You are.
Andre Frood. And Frood's interesting too. O-U-D-E.
Yes.
Where's that name come from, Andre?
It's English originally. So, yes, but it is complicated. I usually have to spell both my names.
Well, I had it right. I out of courtesy, like to check. But anyway, Andre, thanks for joining us. I'm intrigued too, and a bit curious about this crossover that we're touching on here between gaming and gambling. There's only a couple of letters in it. What information do you have on the numbers of young people who are gambling? And do you think that gaming is leading to gambling? What are some of the issues here?
Well, I think it can, and what we're experiencing now is this really sort of grey area, I think, where a lot of game developers are using the techniques of gambling, or gambling techniques, I should say, within their games. So it really normalises it for young people. So it's not just the terminology, so they'll use words like spin the wheel, or they'll have a roulette wheel, or use some sort of gambling terminology within their game. And it just serves to normalise it for young people. And then there's loot boxes, which is actually simulated gambling. So a loot box is like a virtual kind of treasure chest, and you don't know what's in it. So you can often pay real-world money for it, and you don't know what you're going to get. So it could be something really good that will help you in the game, or it could be something that's useless and won't be helpful at all. But it's just has the similarities of a pokie machine. It's like based on chance. You don't know what you're going to get. And this sort of simulated gambling also serves to normalise gambling for young people. And overseas, jurisdictions are all battling with how to regulate it. Some countries have banned loot boxes outright, and others are looking at ways that they can put warnings on the games or make them restricted to, young people aged over 18. So it's a really complicated area and unregulated as such in this country.
Well, it's Gambling Harm Awareness Week. When we've spoken previously, Andre, and with others from the problem gambling sector, we recognise that many Māori find themselves in trouble with their gambling. It's been an issue for our people, but often it's because of the desperate circumstances some find themselves in, and they're hoping like hell that they can spin the wheel and come away with that money needed to pay the power bill or the like. So it's got some real down-home sort of factors to that problem gambling. Before we continue our conversation, could you just set the stage for us about where we're at as a country? But also, I'm sure you've got some data on Māori problem gambling kaupapa. Could you just share a little bit of kōrero around that space for us for a moment, please, Andre?
Absolutely. I think, Māori are disproportionately impacted by gambling harm. And I think, when you look at pokie machines, which are highly addictive machines, they're in our communities where often a lot of Māori and Pacific peoples live. So, if you walk down the street in some suburbs in Auckland and other areas, there are just pokie machines or bars with pokie machines in them everywhere. And, in our view, this is just not fair and it's not right. And that's where we're seeing the harm happen. And a lot of people, they don't necessarily gamble to win money either. Often it's escapism. So if things aren't going well in your life, or you just want to escape something in your life, often pokie machines or gambling is a way to do that. And I've had it described to me as somebody sitting on a pokie machine, they get into a zone and they completely become unaware of how much time or how much money they've spent. And unfortunately, we do have groups in our society that are harmed more than others. And often it's because the harmful products are right there in their communities, and that's just not fair or right. So we advocate at PGF for councils to introduce sinking lid policies, which is the best they've got, really, to keep the numbers of pokies down. But we really want to see the numbers go down in these areas where they're doing the most harm.
Let's look at this too from a societal perspective. What is the correlation between gambling and loneliness?
Well, there's a really strong correlation, and it's such a good question because we know that sometimes people, elderly adults, so they may have got to a point in their life where they've lost their partner. They might have lost friends too, and loneliness plays into the fact that they might go to the casino or they might go to their local pub and gamble because that helps them with this loneliness, even though gambling on a pokie machine is actually a really lonely activity, because people tend to get so immersed in it that they're really unaware of other people around them. But it definitely plays into it, absolutely.
So I'm seeing ads on our TV screens too, which have all the bells and whistles come along and play. I can't recall the name, but it says, this is not a gambling site. But it looks like one, and surely it's if it's not a gambling site, it's an apprenticeship for.
Absolutely, and that's probably Jackpot City. And I know the Department of Internal Affairs are taking action on this because that is, in fact, a site where you can go and play a game, which essentially is a casino game. It's not for money, but the site itself is exactly like the gambling site, and you are one click away from it. But it is actually illegal for gambling operators to advertise to New Zealanders if they're based offshore. So what they do to get around that is they have these sites, or these, gaming sites, if you like, where you can go and play these casino games, but you really are only just a step away from their real gambling site, and it's predatory behaviour. And we really want to see some much tougher regulation around that, because essentially, young people are also being exposed to this. And I've heard that ad on the radio I don't know how many times. But, again, it just normalises it. And it encourages people to go on that site and then potentially to go on to their actual online gambling site where they offer bonuses and incentives to entice people in New Zealand to gamble. And it's just wrong.
Tēnā koe, I've enjoyed our conversation. Thanks. It's Gambling Harm Awareness Week, so let us all be aware that while, some can go in and just have a little flutter, others can get absolutely hooked, and some even displaying the symptoms of Pavlov's dog, i.e. salivating at the sight of the bells and whistles of poker machines. What's happening this week to coincide with Gambling Harm Awareness Week, Andre?
Well, there's events and activities. There's some library displays out in South Auckland. We're doing an online campaign to raise awareness about the harm from sports betting because we've got the Rugby World Cup around the corner. So there'll be plenty. And, of course, there's been the City news as well, which happened to coincide with Gambling Harm Awareness Week. So there's been lots of coverage in the media, and we do appreciate you having us on to talk about it because it's a significant issue in this country.
Thanks for sharing some time with us, Andre. All the best with the mahi, and look forward to our next opportunity to kōrero te tuine. Tēnā koe.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Thanks.